Today and try and pump you up, but you guys seem pretty pumped up because, my God, it's a year before the election and you're here on Friday night. So my message to you is very simple. We have got to re-elect the president. In 1984, Ronald Reagan said that the test of re-election is simple. Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? I happen to think that that test is kind of simplistic and awfully selfish. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Here's our question this year, America. Is our country better led than it was 4 years ago? And there can be no question on that one. We know the answer is yes. The good news for us is that elections are about the future. What voters really want to hear about is where are we going to take them next? Yes, we have to stand up for our accomplishments. And you heard from Congressman Fattah and Senator Casey and Ambassador Sadiq and Congresswoman Margolis about some of the great accomplishments of this administration. But if we don't share our vision for what we want to do next, then we will lose the election. Now, people say to me, my friends who worked on the 2008 campaign, it was really hard. It's going to be really hard this time. And I want to say, have you forgotten the last time? Do you remember how hard it was the last time? I was here in Pennsylvania on primary night. I was here in Pennsylvania on election night in the general. And I remember the things we were hearing. Remember back when we were being called the celebrity candidate? The foreign candidate, the secret Muslim candidate. Yeah, we got over all of that. And the good news for us now is that America knows him. America knows his values. America knows his story. America knows where his heart is. In all the polling that you see that shows the disapproval rates being really high, what you don't pay attention to is the other number, which says the majority of Americans want him to succeed because they understand that our success as a country is tied to his success as the President of the United States. And that's where I think the Republicans are going to lose. Because the Republicans are now, not even being subtle about it, they are blatantly saying to their members, to their donors, to their activists, we have got to do everything we can to stop legislation from passing because that's the way to keep him from getting reelected. And the American people can see right through that. So this election has to be not about the past, but about the future. I've always liked to say, since our days together on the Howard Dean campaign, Ambassador, that progress doesn't happen in a moment. It happens in a movement. And 3 years ago, we worked together to build that movement. And it is up to us to see that we accomplish and finish what we started. We've done a lot, from the overhaul of the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, to Wall Street reform, to the Consumer Protection Agency that we've created, averting a Great Depression, killing Osama bin Laden, the guy who actually attacked us on 9/11, repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell, passing healthcare reform after a century of talking about it, and signing the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. These are all important accomplishments that we've made. But like you, the president also has a to-do list. And he doesn't give up just because he didn't finish everything on his list, and we shouldn't give up either. So what's on our list next? We want to get people back to work, and that's why we've got to pass the American Jobs Act. We've got to make sure that we fix our broken immigration system by passing the DREAM Act and by making sure that we can reunite our families. We need to close the pay gap between women and minorities. And we need to pass employment non-discrimination because no person in this country should lose their job because of who they are and who they choose to love. I wanted to end by sharing a story with you. 3 years ago, I was in Pittsburgh on election day. And I remember that Pennsylvania was the only blue state, meaning the only John Kerry victory state that we were still defending on election day. Everywhere else we were playing offense, in Indiana, in North Carolina, in Colorado, in New Mexico. But this was a state where we were still playing defense. And it was really the western part of Pennsylvania that we were focused on. And I remember about lunchtime on election day, we got a call telling us that the lines at the precincts around Carnegie Mellon University and the University of Pittsburgh were stretching around the corner, that the average wait time was about 2 hours. And we started to panic. We thought, will those college students stand in line? Will they wait? We better go and do something. And we had a plan ready to go. We had hot chocolate delivered, hot dogs, we found a local rap star to go and sign autographs, we called up Franco Harris from the Pittsburgh Steelers, he came by to shake hands with people. I happened to be dating a guy who worked for the circus at the time, I had to bring jugglers and clowns. It's election day, you do whatever you gotta do, right? By the time I got to the precinct, it looked like a carnival was going on outside. And I remember surveying the results of all of our hard work, and a young woman near the front of the line, she made eye contact with me and she called me over. And she said, excuse me, are you responsible for all of this? I said, I'm with the Obama campaign, yes. She said, well, I gotta tell you something, thanks for the rap star and the clowns, but I've been in this line for 2 hours. And nobody left. Nobody was leaving. Take a look around you. when I looked around me, I saw students sitting on the ground, backpacks open, textbooks in hand, studying and patiently waiting for their turn to vote. So now when I work in government, every day I think about those students. I think about that young woman, and I think about the responsibility I have to her and to all the other people who gave up their time, who gave from their wallets, who gave their energy to help get this president elected. And I know that's why we have to re-elect the president. Last but not least, I want to just say, this election can't be about what's wrong with the other side. Marjorie's right. We have a cast of characters on the other side. But as we learned in 2004, you don't win in elections by telling the country what's wrong with them. You win an election by telling the country what is right with us. So when Sarah Palin says, how's that Hopi, changey thing working for you? Well, it's working a lot better than desperation, despair, and inertia from the previous 8 years. I have 3 things that I still have hope in. Number 1, that God will give us leaders with good sense. Number 2, that the leaders we have, the people with good sense, will run for office and be leaders. People like my friend Brian Sims, who's running for the state ledge. And the third thing I hope for... What was the third thing that I hope for? Oh, right. I was hoping that we would have the patience and the strength to suffer all the fools in the meantime. So, my friends, my fellow Obama Democrats, remember the old saying, voting is like driving a car. If you want to go forward, you got to put it in D. And if you want to go backwards, feel free to put it in R. But one last caveat, if you want to get somewhere fast and get it there efficient, you better put it in overdrive, and for that you need a O. Good luck. Thank you very much.